Do you want anything from the shop?
Cornetto.
No luck catching them swans, then?
It's just the one swan, actually.
Want anything from the shop?
You've just been to the shop.
Thinking of a different shop.
We all had to go organic in a big wave. But if I'm honest, I'm hard-pressed to recall any processed foods I actually miss.
3 films, 3 guys, all with the same running theme of Cornettos. This is the Cornetto Trilogy. The Cornetto Trilogy, also known as 3 Flavors Cornetto, is made by Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and Edgar Wright. The first film I will be putting in the tier list is Shaun of the Dead, released in 2004. This film is about Shaun going through a zombie invasion. This film is my favourite in the series because of its comedy and creative storytelling. All of the other films do have this, but I personally think here it was done the best. And in the other films, they're done well, but not as well. This film, also, the characters are very, very likeable and good. Especially as they're setting the characters up, I think that creates some very comedic moments. They leave the door unlocked at the start, and the guy says to Shaun that he's not blaming him for opening the door, he's blaming Ed, which I just thought was a very funny, snarky, kind of tongue-in-cheek humour, which isn't the type of humour the film generally goes for, because most of the time it's very dumb comedy, because Shaun and Ed don't really take this zombie invasion as seriously as they should, because, you know, it's like a world-ending disaster. You could say it's the world to end. Wait, no, that's the wrong film, sorry. You could say that they're probably gonna die. But also, the time I talk about the negatives of this film, the romance plot, I was nowhere near as invested in as the other things with the zombies and Shaun not taking it seriously enough. I just thought it could have been better. But overall, with a very comedic story, engaging characters, I think overall this is one of the best films I've ever seen. And everyone watching this video needs to go see it. Rate an S tier. Now, we're on to Hot Fuzz, which is a police film where this London officer gets moved to this small town, and after a string of accidents, which we know are murders, happen, he is suspicious about this town, and after doing some investigations, he learns that it's actually a cult doing all these murders. And I was expecting myself to hate the cult stuff like I normally do in films and shows, but they really took the mick out of it. Yes, I said took the mick, because I'm British. They did a ton of jokes about why they started killing them. Like they killed these one guys because their acting was terrible. Kind of like mine. But it is true. But, like, they do make jokes about it, which I very much like. I don't like cult stuff. Like, even in Super Best Friends, a South Park episode, I didn't think it was, like, that good, the cult stuff. Like, it was a good episode, but I just cult stuff isn't my thing, but the way they make fun of it. But enough about the cult stuff. Now, what he learns about this, his friend helps him get out of that stuff and leads him into going to somewhere else. But what he does do is he grabs a ton of weapons and he starts fighting up the whole town. And it has this really cool action scene that I really enjoyed. And that's about the film. And yeah, it was very, very good. But I feel like it was a step down from their last film. Comedy-wise, it's not as funny, even though there are still very funny jokes. I just didn't think it was as funny because the jokes weren't as frequent. And they just weren't as funny. They feel less funny. But all in all, another great film. And it's probably the most famous Cornetto film. Especially some of the scenes. A lot of the scenes are very iconic. Like the fence scene is more iconic than the one in Shaun of the Dead. The Cornetto scene is also more iconic. It's just a very iconic film. Can you tell I like saying iconic? But again, another great film, going right into A tier. Also, this film has the most engaging story out of all of them. I personally think that Shaun of the Dead has better comedy, but Hot Fuzz has a better story. Lastly, we have The World's End. This film is about this man who, in his old town, he wanted to do this thing he called the Golden Mile, where he went to all 12 pubs in his town and drank a pint of beer from each one. And when he goes back to do it with all his friends, he learns that something is off. And he doesn't realise what's off until he ends up in some incident in the bathroom. And basically, he starts beating up this one kid who is this like alien thing with blue blood. And what happens is they have to go to finish the Golden Mile, and once they get to the last pub, the World's End, weirdly enough, that wasn't funny, but basically what happens is they learn about this alien and they're like headmaster type of thing, and basically they have selected humanity to enter into something. And what he does is, since they're like all angry and drunk, he basically gets really ticked off and removes the entire world's electricity and technology. So they go back to these weird ages. And that's the final film. And it's probably the worst one, where Hot Fuzz had the best story and Shaun of the Dead was the funniest film. I think this one isn't best on either thing. I'd say it's probably best character-wise, with the main character just being some guy who couldn't grow up. But overall, I do think this is the worst out of the trilogy. But it's weird, because it's still a great film. Well, not great, but pretty good film. It's just not as good as the others. So it will go in B tier. So thank you everybody for watching this silly little video. I love the Cornetto trilogy, if you cannot tell. And Paul is pretty good as well, but that's not a part of the Cornetto trilogy. But I just want to say thank you for watching this video and have a very nice day.